No, I know exactly what you're thinking. How the hell did I get myself into this mess? Trapped on a train, on a mission for my ex-lover. And here I am, right next to a dead body. Believe me, I'm wondering the same thing myself. You see, I don't exactly remember how I got in this mess. To be honest, I don't really remember much about last night. It's kind of a mystery. Which I guess, lucky for me, I'm not a half-bad detective. Still, you know by now, I do my best detective work when I've got a little bourbon inside of me. Well, unfortunately, the bourbon's all dried up, and so is my brain. I'm waking up with the most excruciating hangover right now. And I would love nothing more than to just go back to sleep, but unfortunately for me, I've got this dead body. The body of some rich, snobby-looking kid, splayed out across from me. Knife buried in his stomach. Blood everywhere. Poor kid. Looks like he's just in the prime of his life. And yet, it's been snatched away. Shame, really. I'm sure deep down he's probably a nice kid, even though he looks like he could give a rat's ass about anybody other than himself. I look around, and I don't notice anything. Well, that's not entirely true. I did notice that there were a couple of liquor bottles all around us. Was I drinking with this guy? My mind, it's fuzzy. Like I can't think straight. To be honest, I really can't remember what happened last night. Maybe if I retrace my steps. Maybe if I just think about how I got here, maybe it'll all be clear. God, I really hope that I didn't kill this guy. Now, Murphy, you can't think like that. I mean, come on. You? A murderer? I mean, sure, you did your fair share of killing when you were in the war, but that was wartime. You're not a murderer. You catch the murderers. And right now, I gotta catch this murderer before everyone thinks that I am the number one suspect. So think, Murphy. What would you do if this was a normal case? Well, I guess the first thing I would do is assume that I was the culprit. I mean, it's pretty easy to assume that. I'm here in this compartment. The victim is right across from me, and there's literal blood on my hands. But then I'd stop and I'd think to myself, that's too easy. I mean, really, Who just stays after they committed a crime? I mean, look, I'm not the smartest person in the room, but I'm pretty sure that if this was me, I'd have left. Now, somebody wanted it to look like it was me. But it can't be anybody that actually knows me. I mean, don't get me wrong. In certain circles, I'm pretty famous. But the fact that they just left me here, they probably just thought I was some drunk on the train. That's good. They underestimated me, which means they thought they could get away with this. They're sloppy, and all I've got to do is follow the trail. So think, Murphy. Think. What the hell happened last night? Who is this guy? I look around for clues. I don't want to touch the body. You know, for respect purposes. Really, it was just giving me the heebie-jeebies just looking at the kid. I went to go take off my coat. That's when I noticed that there was something in my pocket. I reached in and I found poker chips. Poker chips. And it hit me. I was playing cards last night. Mariah was admittedly helping me cheat. I mean, what's the point of having a kid that can read minds if you can't use that to your advantage, right? Yeah, I know. It was a pretty lousy move, but looks like it worked in my favor. There are a number of chips there. And that's when it hit me. I remember all too well. This kid, he was showing off at the poker table, trying to make sure that everybody knew that he was the high roller. Wait, was that why I had Mariah help me? To take the piss out of this kid? Yeah, that sounds like me. Yeah. Okay, yeah, sure. I did that. That's why we did it. Mariah and I were gonna team up and take this kid down a notch. But then what happened? Did I beat him? Did I win? Huh. No. Mariah said something about being tired. That using her abilities for too long was exhausting for her, since she isn't necessarily a full-blooded elf like her mom. So then the rest of the time, that's it. Yes. I played him. And I was winning. Well, most of the time. I mean, he got pretty lucky a few times, but I was winning. And the kid bet me a bottle of bourbon. A bottle of really, really expensive bourbon. Yeah. Yeah. And I lost. Which would explain why I only have a handful of chips left. Yeah. Okay. See, it's all slowly starting to come back to me. Not very quickly, mind you, but enough. But then what happened? What happened between me and that kid? Okay, yes, okay, yes, that's what happened. The kid was impressed. So he wanted to buy me a drink. He wanted to buy me a drink using my money. Cheeky little bastard. Yeah. He bought that bottle of whiskey, and we drank it. Kid, he was going to New Orleans on a trip. Yeah. A trip before he got married. Oh no. His family, if they're old money, they're gonna want blood for blood on this one. I've gotta clear my innocence. Otherwise, this adventure's gonna be over before it even gets started. Okay, alright. Gotta think. We drank. He told me a little bit more about his life. And of course, I in turn told him about my life. Yeah. He was impressed. Impressed that I was a detective. Said he wanted to be a detective. Yeah, before his rich judge daddy told him he needed to go to law school. Well, kid, may not be the way you wanted, but looks like you finally got out of your dad's shadow. Sorry, that was insensitive. I know, but come on now. Is this really the first time you've heard me be insensitive? All right. I know. Clock's ticking. It's so hard. So hard to remember when your head is just feeling like a cracked egg. All right. Come on, Murph. You can do this. You're the best detective. You can figure out who killed this kid and tried to frame you. Just think. What did the kid say? He was talking about his fiance. Yeah. His fiance. Why is that sticking out to me? I don't know. She's just some rich debutante looking to snatch up a equally rich husband so that she won't have to work ever again. No judgment there. It's a noble profession, scooping up rich spouses. But there's something odd. Was it how they met? I know they met at some party while they were in college. And it was love at first sight, but something was wrong. Something about all this, it wasn't easy. What was it? Damn it. You know, I really need to act like some of those old detectives and carry around a notepad and just jot down anything anyone ever says to me. Maybe then I'd remember a little easier. Or maybe it's just the fact that my head just keeps feeling like it's cracked open. Wait. That's it. My head. This doesn't feel like a normal headache. This feels like, oh my God. This feels like I've been drugged. Not that I know what getting drugged really feels like, but I've had hangovers before. And this is definitely not one of them. I lean back in the chair and just kind of center myself. Try to shake off the after effects of this drug, whatever it was. And as I take a deep breath, I notice something. Something really strange about this kid. There's something about him. Something I didn't really take notice of last night. And now it's just all too clear. Yeah. Like I said, I couldn't really notice it before, but now as I look at him, with his head just drooping down, chin resting against his chest, I see it. Two short little nubs on top of his head. This kid ain't human. I don't know what he is, but he's definitely one of the beings that rests in the shadows. Look, at this point in my life, I'm willing to accept a lot of things. I mean, hell, my daughter is half elf. But this was something that I don't think I could have ever anticipated. I looked at the kid, still dead as a doornail, and the soft ticking of the clock. I looked at him, tried to figure out exactly what I was looking at. Despite being in the shadows now, I'm still relatively new to it. But, fortunately, I did enjoy a good English class back in college. I read up on a lot of different things. Witches, goblins, ghouls, giant cyclops, you name it. But this, to be honest, I couldn't believe what I was looking at. This was a satyr. honest to God satyr. Incredible. I tried to get a good look at his horns when I realized that they were filed down. Clearly he was trying to pass. Not sure why. I mean, if I had a choice between being a mythological creature and being a human, I choose mythological creature every time. Still, this poor kid was dead on this train car. And for what? I couldn't even begin to understand. But I needed to. I needed to figure out what killed this kid quick, fast, and in a hurry. Like I said, the clock was ticking. Pretty soon, someone was going to knock on that door. And when they did, I would be here. Trapped between a rock and a hard place, with no way to explain myself. My head was still killing me. Like I said, it was still so hard to remember what happened last night. Images kept flashing in my head like a movie reel. But I couldn't just lock on one particular memory, that one thing, that one detail that would help prove my innocence and figure out what happened to this poor kid. I decided to jog my memory by going through his pockets. It's an easy way to connect the dots. Don't know what dots there were to connect. I mean, for all I knew, there's no evidence here. Everybody was going to assume that I did it. Let's see. What do we have here? A gold key. Well, that could be important. I set it down off to the side, making myself a little evidence desk. The next thing I found was a handkerchief. On it, there were 2 initials. D.B. D.B. My mind raced, trying to see if I could remember anything that this kid had told me last night. Nothing was ringing a bell, not even his name. But DB, that could be important. Connection to his family, perhaps? I set it off to the side. I found his wallet and looked inside. It was full of $50 bills. Man, if this didn't look so calculated and the money wasn't here, I'd swear this was just a standard snatch and grab that went wrong. But it didn't feel that way. Something in my gut was telling me that this was a setup. Somebody wanted to frame me. The question was, did someone know that I was on this train? Did someone know what I was trying to do? Or was I just in the wrong place at the wrong time? So many different questions. And unfortunately for me, no one to answer. I was about to take a seat again when I heard the literal ticking of a clock. I reached into the kid's coat pocket and found a gold pocket watch. My. Expensive looking trinket. I opened it up. For the most part, it looked fairly clean. Few fingerprints, which I assumed was the deceased. But on the inside of the pocket watch, there was this beautiful young girl. Brown hair. Steely eyes. She looked at the camera longingly. It was almost as if the very picture was staring at me, staring into my soul. I wondered who she was. When I took a second to think. His fiancée. No doubt. I looked the pocket watch over. Despite it looking so rich and fancy, I could tell that this was old. There were scratches on the side. Now, one could assume that the kid was just clumsy. Maybe he dropped it a couple of times. But the way this looked, no. This was an heirloom. Somebody gave this to her, and she gave it to someone else. It was a sweet gesture, to be sure, but there was a part of me that felt a little uneasy about that fact. This girl, the way she looked at the camera, her piercing eyes. One could imagine that when she looked at that camera, she was looking at him. There was no way this girl could have found a way to set him up. Damn. I was so sure it was going to be the fiancé. But I was wrong. I set the pocket watch off to the side, knowing full well that if I managed to get through this, I was going to need to return it. All of a sudden, my brain felt like it was about to burst open. I started remembering something. DB. Daniel Bloom. That was the kid's name. I'm sure of it. Huh. But what triggered it? What reminded me about this kid's name? I started to grab onto that string. Pulled it. Trying to figure out exactly where it led. And then I remembered. He introduced himself to me at the bar. He looked like hell. I mean, rich, fancy, but there was something about him, something that I recognized. A certain level of sadness that only a few people truly understand. I remember asking him later on in the night, after several glasses of bourbon. I remember asking him, why did he look so sad? And he told me that he was fearful about losing his best girl, Annie. I looked back at the pocket was it, Murphy? What was it that he told you about Annie Belacqua? What was it that made him so nervous to think that he was going to lose her as soon as he got to the city? I tried to think. That's it. Of course. Annie had an ex-boyfriend. They went to college together. Yes. Keep following it, Murphy. You got this. They went to college together. And Daniel loved Annie first. But Annie didn't notice him. And she didn't notice him because of his roommate. My God. I started to piece things together and realized, could this actually have been that calculated? That somehow Daniel's roommate managed to orchestrate the death of his old roommate, the fiancé of an old flame? Could someone really be that sinister? That's when I remembered. He showed me proof. I reached into Daniel's pocket and pulled out the letter. It was still in the opened envelope, but when I unfolded it, I knew exactly what had happened. It was like lightning struck inside my brain, and it all just clicked. Daniel's old roommate had sent a letter to him, telling him that he needed to come to New Orleans, and he would be waiting for him. That Daniel would have to pay up if he wanted to keep his dirty little secret away from Annie. When I read it a little bit better, I realized that Daniel here was being blackmailed. Annie didn't know about him being a satyr. He just wanted to marry her. Dear God. This poor kid. He just wanted to marry her without fear. I felt so sorry for the kid. And I wish that things had worked out better. But something didn't sit right with me. I mean, looking at the wallet, Daniel was going to pay up. I mean, sure, there was no guarantee that his old roommate would keep his word. But if Daniel was going to pay, why would his roommate kill him on the train? Why would he try to frame me? He doesn't know me. And not only that, if this was all about money, why in the world would he have left all of this cash? No, Murphy. You got it all wrong. This might be the reason why he got on the train, but that wasn't what killed him. What killed him was something far, far more sinister. Something that, if you don't figure it out, you're not gonna get off this train with your freedom. I decided to have one less smoke. I know you're not supposed to smoke on a train, but seeing as how this might be my last, I figured I would just say, to hell with the rules. Man, I gotta tell you, I didn't think my story would end this way. I mean, did you? I mean, this whole time, I've always managed to figure out the cases. I've always managed to find the right person, but whoever did this, they were just too good. They were better than me. I think about Andrea and how she's waiting for me to complete this mission. And I can't even get off the frickin' train. I just hope Mariah, I really, really hope she'll just let them take me away. I mean, the kid is hard-headed, to be sure. I mean, hell, look at her dad. But I just hope that she keeps going. I hope she solves this mystery that her mom put us on, so that they can be free. Finally. And without worry or any sort of fear. I think that's what every dad wants, right? For their families to be without fear. Yeah, I'm rambling. Rambling as the ticking just keeps on counting down to the moment when people walk through those doors and they capture me. They capture me and they hold me tight and they put me in a New Orleans jail. And here I was, thinking that if I did end up in a jail cell, it'll be because of public indecency from drinking too much. Almost got caught a few times. But that's a story for a much, much, much later time. For now, me and old Daniel Bloom, we're just gonna sit here and, well, wait for the end. I looked at the kid, and I felt so sad that I couldn't solve this case, that I couldn't bring his murderer to justice. I mean, what's up with that, right? Here I am, this world-class detective, and I can't even solve this murder. And why? I was too drunk to remember. And yeah, I know. All signs show that I was probably framed for this, that I was probably drugged. But let's just be real. Who is gonna believe that? And what's worse is that when they look at this kid, there's gonna be so many questions. So many things that I'm not even sure how I'm going to begin to explain why this kid, who should be human, isn't human. Things were better when I wasn't in the Shadowverse. They were less complicated. When all I had to deal with was gangsters. Gangsters and, the odd jewel thief. These are the things that, I just wanted to hold on to for just a little while longer. But my life has never been easy. And to be honest, I really don't mind. I don't mind in the slightest. I really don't. Is that right, Daniel? I'm sure your life was never easy, right? I'm sure that in the grand scheme of things, your life was probably even harder. You had to hide who you truly were from the world. From your fiancé, no less. It's just sad. Because this kid, this wonderful drinking companion I had, he is probably gonna light up and change the world. Probably make Annie a beautiful bride. Wonderful mother. Spectacular wife. And they were gonna have a family. A family just so full of love and respect for one another. I remember when I was like that. I remember when that's what I wanted, but as you can see, life is not easy, especially for me. I got about halfway through my cigarette and my self-reflection when I took a closer look at Daniel. I mean, really looked into him. Really thought about all of the pieces. I thought about Daniel's family, how they wanted him to do a certain thing, how they wanted him to be on a certain track so that he would have a better life. I thought about Annie and how much she must have loved him to give up a family heirloom. I thought about his roommate that brought him on this train. His roommate who knew his deepest, darkest secret. Wait. His roommate did know his secret. Wait a minute, Murphy. Wait a minute, you're onto something here. It's not the roommate. It's not Annie's ex-boyfriend. That's for sure. I mean, I already cleared him. It makes no sense for the roommate to kill Daniel on the train when he had what he wanted. And there was no way that Annie was gonna go back to the roommate. I mean, they'd already tried to make something happen and it didn't work. There was a reason why he was the ex. Annie couldn't have done this. She loved him. And she didn't even know. Or if she did, she wasn't willing to expose him and give up her happiness, that beautiful life that she was gonna have with Daniel. No, this was somebody else. Somebody who knew that Daniel would get on this train and not think that he would ever get hurt. Somebody knew that Daniel would be in such a such a passion, that he would start drinking. Maybe even drink with somebody. Didn't matter who. All they needed was for Daniel to strike up a friendship. Because that's what Daniel does. Daniel makes people love him. He made Annie love him. And even though his roommate decided that he was going to blackmail him all of a sudden, his roommate kept his secret for so long. Why now? That's just a last screw you to his old friend? No. That makes no sense. If he wanted to do that, why didn't he do it sooner? This was different. This wasn't about money. This was solely about killing Daniel so that he wouldn't marry Annie. I started to think. The gears in my head started to turn. And that, my friends, is when it hit me. It was Annie's father. I know. It sounds strange, but just go with me on this. Annie's father must have found out. Well, it's pretty obvious now that I think about it. Annie Bellecourt. That name, Bellecourt. That is an old Louisiana family name. And of course, we're on the train headed straight to Louisiana. A perfect way for the old man to get off the train, maybe after a business trip, go home, and wait for the call from his daughter that her beloved fiancé was dead. Still not buying it? I admit, that wouldn't be enough to convince me either. I mean, it is New Orleans. There's probably tons of Bellecourts in New Orleans. Why would the dad be the prime suspect? Well, think back to the pocket watch. The pocket watch with Annie's picture, where she looked at him so longingly. That was a family heirloom. And I'm sure Monsieur Bellecourt was not very happy when his daughter gave up a priceless family heirloom and to somebody he didn't really know. No. He needed to look deep into this person. He needed to find out about his family. Well, I'm sure his family came up clean, and at no point in time did anyone ever realize that they were family of satyrs. So, when you can't get dirt there, you start to go to his friends. And what friend would probably sing like a canary if he were threatened? Daniel's roommate. Whether he did so willingly or by force, it doesn't matter. But Daniel's roommate gave Monsieur Belacroix all the evidence he needed. But he couldn't just shame Daniel. No. Because if he shamed Daniel, he would be making him a martyr. He would be forcing his daughter right into his hands if he exposed him so maliciously. And there's no way that Daniel's roommate would keep it quiet that Monsieur Belacroix was doing the investigation. No, not at all. Instead, he would need to kill him on this train. Make it look like a murder, but to take the blame from him and put it on the guy from out of town. The guy with a documented history of alcohol abuse. Monsieur Belacroix, you are indeed clever, my friend. But you messed up when you chose me as your patsy. I was feeling pretty good about what I had discovered. And I knew that all I had to do was find Monsieur Belacroix, and I would be proven right. But it wouldn't clear my innocence. It wouldn't let people know that I was clear of all charges. I was still in the room, sitting across from Daniel. Hell, I wouldn't believe me either. I needed to find proof beyond a damaged pocket watch. I looked Daniel over again. Looked at the blood on his shirt. Looked at the stab holes from the knife that Monsieur Belacroix rammed into him over and over again. And then I looked at his horns. Those horns that still peeked out. And I noticed that they were caked with blood. I got a little closer, and they were indeed caked with blood. Daniel fought back. I looked at myself, wondering that maybe Daniel might have run into me or something, but there was nothing. I was fine. Which means that blood was Monsieur Belacroix's. Monsieur Belacroix had 2 stab holes on his person. And all I had to do was show it to the conductor. I breathed a heavy sigh of relief. And damn it, I could have cried. I mean, I really, really could have cried. And as I fell back into my chair and I looked at Daniel, I noticed a case just behind Daniel's feet underneath his seat. And I was curious. Maybe there was some way I could contact his family. Maybe let them know exactly what happened. And let them know that their secret was indeed safe with me. I looked at my little makeshift evidence table, and I grabbed the golden key. I went up to the case, and I opened it. Inside were a couple of different items. Some were strange to me. I don't know. Maybe they were magic. One was a picture. A picture of Daniel and Annie together on a beautiful, beautiful day. I reached up and picked up the picture just to get a look at what happiness really, really looked like. And as I did, I saw a glowing crystal tied to string. It was strange to me, this weird gem. So I put down the picture and I picked up the crystal. And as I brought it across Daniel, I noticed that his appearance shifted a little bit. He looked more human. And when I brought it even closer, his horns had magically disappeared. I looked down at the crystal in my hand. Somehow this had been imbued with some sort of power to hide his appearance. I thought to myself, he needed this before anyone could see his horns. I took the necklace and I put it around his neck. And I watched as he slowly transformed from a satyr into more human. Something that wouldn't expose him and his family. Something that would give Annie peace when she saw him. Yeah. Now I was ready. I got up and started to go into the hallway to find a ticket taker or somebody that I could reach and let them know I was ready to tell them about the murder in compartment number 10 and that I had solved it. As I looked back at Daniel, I couldn't help but look out the window. And I saw New Orleans. That big, beautiful city of magic and of bourbon. I wondered, was what awaited me there going to be more difficult than this? Most likely. But I was reminded about one thing in that particular moment. I'm Charles Murphy, and I always solve my case.